Welcome to the Terrible Take, a daily segment telling Steelers Nation what's on our mind. I'm Bryan. So, where will free agent safety Tyrann Mathieu wind up this offseason? It's really hard to say at this point, and the latest reports seem to indicate that he is in no hurry to sign a deal with the team. As for the Pittsburgh Steelers' interest in Mathieu, there does seem to be some, or at the very least, a call from head coach Mike Tomlin has taken place already. While we wait to see where Mathieu ultimately lands, it's time for me to address the ongoing narrative that the Steelers can't afford Mathieu from a salary cap standpoint. For starters, I can almost guarantee all of you that if the Steelers do wind up signing Mathieu, that it would be for more than 1 year, and especially if the veteran safety is looking for more than $5 million a season, which he most definitely is. I can also almost guarantee you that the Steelers won't be signing him for more than $10 million a season. Mathieu, by the way, is coming off a deal with the Kansas City Chiefs that averaged $14 million a year. The Steelers also aren't a team that likes to hand out incentives to non-quarterbacks, so you can probably forget that angle as well. If, however, they were to decide to go the incentive route with Mathieu, they would be not likely to be earned incentives, and thus the base value of the deal would still likely be $10 million per year or less. So, let's say that Mathieu and the Steelers were to agree to a 2-year, $20 million deal. Based on contract structure history of the team, it's a good bet that such a deal would pay Mathieu $10 million total in 2022 when the signing bonus and first-year base salary are combined. Such a deal would likely result in Mathieu having a 2022 salary cap charge of right around $6 million. If the cap charge ended up being $6 million on the nose, the Steelers would use up just $5.105 million in available 2022 salary cap space after top 51 roster displacement takes place. That's it. Just $5.105 million on a 2-year, $20 million contract with Mathieu getting $10 million total in 2022. At the time this terrible take is being recorded, the Steelers are nearly $13.256 million under the cap. That number under certainly doesn't cover all the forthcoming projectable cap expenses the team will have between now and the start of the regular season. You know, things like signing the draft class, signing a practice squad, accounting for a 52nd and 53rd player, and a cool $10 million for in-season cost. If you want to get technical about it, the Steelers are currently roughly $4.4 million over the cap when you account for all the things they must still budget for before the regular season starts. Yes, the Steelers are very likely to sign safety Minkah Fitzpatrick to a contract extension at some point during the offseason, and maybe even kicker Chris Boswell as well. Wide receiver Deontay Johnson is yet another player they could decide to extend this offseason, but my gut tells me that won't happen. We'll see. An extension for Fitzpatrick might even result in his current salary cap charge for 2022 decreasing just a little, just like was the case last year with outside linebacker T.J. Watt after he signed his extension that made him the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. Speaking of Watt, you can almost guarantee that the Steelers will restructure his contract later this offseason, and if they do, they can free up as much as $17.2 million in the process. The only way that Watt isn't restructured at all this offseason is if the team decides to part ways with defensive end Stephon Tuitt via a post-June 1st designation. Even if Tuitt is cut in that fashion, there's still a chance that Watt will get restructured to some degree. So, in closing, the Steelers can easily afford to sign Mathieu to a 2-year or more contract in the coming weeks and months. Whether or not they will is anyone's guess at this point. If they don't sign him, however, it won't be because they can't afford him. It will be because they did not offer him the deal that he wanted to sign. Be sure to follow us at SteelersDepot.com and check out episodes of The Terrible Take every day at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And check out The Terrible Podcast with myself and Alex Kozora every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.